Hello everyone, thank you for joining today. We are going to discuss today another great feature from Java 21, which is also a preview feature. So in my last video, we had discussed a very great feature called unnamed classes and instance main method. So today we are going to discuss a similar sounding feature called unnamed patterns and variables, which is also a preview feature. So let's get started. So this feature is called unnamed patterns and variables. So here the unnamed patterns is one part of this feature and unnamed variables is another, the second part of this feature. Coming to the goals, this is there are two goals. One is readability and second is maintainability. So readability comes where in real life cases of use cases for the record patterns, we are not going to use record pattern just for a simple record, say just a record to create name where it contains two components. One is first name and another one is last name. We are going to have records which are nested inside each other, and they are going to, when we are aggregating them and disaggregating them into their individual components, many a times we will not use all the components in our code. We may have to use optionally, we may disregard some of the component data. So I will show you good examples in the code. And second one is readability. So we can now omit unnecessary patterns from the unnecessary or not used patterns from from these disaggregated components. And coming to the maintainability, we don't need to, for example, let's suppose we are using a catch block. In a catch block, we are catching a set exception, and that exception is a good. It tells us what went wrong, but we are going to print a user message according to it. So we are not using the um, exception per se. We are not using the exception variable, but we are going to use print or throw another exception, a generic exception with a user message. There we don't have to now create a unnecessary variable just because it currently it needs one. So and then so the summary wise, it is enhancing the Java language where with unnamed patterns which match a record component without stating the component's name or type. There are two things in the component's name and its type. So if we have a record component called first name and last name for name, then first name is the name and the type is string, and last name is also a string, and the name is last name. So and unnamed variables which can be initialized but not used. So both of them are denoted by an underscore. So before we jump into the code, I just wanted to let everyone know that I have a GitHub repo by the name Engineer Sunit, and the repo name is Java 21. In the Java 21, you will find all the code implementation for the Java 21 features. So here, what code I am showing today is already available by the name in this package and by the name of unnamed patterns variables.java. So let's dive in to the code. So I am in my IDE now. So I am having a class called unnamed patterns variables, which is also available in the GitHub repository. And to show the use cases and the utility of this preview feature, I have created a record where the name by the name of geolocation. It has three components of type double, and they are latitude, longitude, and altitude. And I'm not overriding any of the methods here. And the second one is the enum of having five constants: apartment, office, school, factory, and shop. And the enum is building type. And I am having another record which contains nested records of the geolocation. So it has a name and it has another nested record inside it called location, and the building type enum, which defines its type. And I will also use another record called app payment, which is using generics, and it is having a component called payment of the type of a class which extends payment. So payment, what is payment? And payment is I'm using the sealed feature of Java JDK 17. It says sealed abstract class payment, which permits UPI payment, wallet payment, and card payment. So UPI payment extends payment, wallet payment, and card payment also do the same. So I have used this hierarchy here, and I have used the permits and the sealed keywords to show that none of the other classes can extend this payment abstract class. So let's dive into the real use cases. So this is my public static void main, which already, if you have seen my previous videos, where I have shown that we have, by using the unnamed classes and instance main method feature, we no need to write public static and we know keywords in front of the main class, and we don't have to give the argument, the string array argument here. So that is, you can watch my previous video for that. Let's move on with this feature. With this feature, I am creating a record instance by using the new keyword, and then I am giving it a name Diamond Heights, and I am creating another nested record inside it, instance inside it, of giving it the latitude, longitude, and altitude. And I am also giving it a type called apartment by using the enum building type. So if my use case is that let's suppose this is a ride hailing app, and you are creating an instance whenever you're choosing your destination, your home. Your home is Diamond Heights, and the Uber or any ride-hailing app is is creating a message, or it's creating logic which says whenever you reach your destination, it says that your destination, the name of the destination is at location, the geolocation of the type. So geolocation is abstracted, so it will just print the location coordinates for you. So your use case is this. So by when your use case is this, you don't need to specify the building type. You don't in this case you don't need that that the building type should be an apartment or something. So but if you have to write the code, so if you have to disaggregate, so you have to mention the string as the name, the geolocation, location, and type. You and the end we are using creative using the only the location, latitude, and the longitude, the name. So if I run this program, you will see, if I run this program, you will see that it just prints your destination Diamond Heights is at location, longitude, and latitude. So this is the generic use cases we have, where in the nested cases of records, we need not use every time or at every place, we need not use its the building blocks of that record, the nested record or the record. So with this new feature, so without showing you the new feature, you will now realize that for this use case, I would have avoided if there is was some feature or some way I can not declare. Obviously, JVM knows that the definition of building is having a name, a geolocation, and a building type. So if I remove, and in that order, so if I can just somehow omit this without destabilizing the compiled and runtime behavior, so what could it be? So I can have a means of removing this declaration and replacing it with something very convenient or not non-ambiguous. And also I don't need the altitude part of the location, geolocation. So here comes this feature where we can use an underscore symbol, and we can create the same code in a more useful way. So in this code, if you see, I what I'm doing is I am saying destination instance of building. I need the S, the name. I need the geolocation, but I don't need the building type. So I just give the name of that component as underscore. So this is good. I can remove the name. So you may say name is anyway not used, so not we have not given. What about this building type? We even don't need this type because the user at this moment does not want anything to do with the third component. So we can also remove this. We can remove this and replace the entire thing with underscore, and I can run this code now. So I can run this code and it runs and it prints your destination is at location so and so. So we can remove this and do that. So we can either just give the type, whatever. So it's a flexible arrangement. Here you can give the type and just not give the name, or you can entirely remove it for readability purpose. If you are confident, if you're okay with entire removing entire thing with an underscore, that also can be done. Now even better. What can be better approach? We are disaggregating it fully. So destination. So here you saw that we are disaggregating, not disaggregating a bit, like we are just saying that okay, the building, let me disaggregate it into the name and the location and the building type. Now I am further disaggregating it into the nested uh, records as well. So I'm saying destination name, I need the name, I need the latitude, I need the longitude. I don't need the altitude at this moment. I don't need the building type. So I have completely removed, I have disaggregated into its component and I have removed the part which I don't need. So the compiler knows, okay, I have three components. The third component is not needed. And obviously you cannot refer it down the line. So I can either say double this and it will compile just fine and run fine, or I can just remove this and completely remove this. So what happens now is that I in my code I am using just the name, latitude and longitude. Here you can see clearly from where these are coming from. You don't need to the user, the readability wise, you can clearly see the composition of the entire data structure, and then you can see from where it is coming from, and only those pieces are mentioned in this entire code. So it's very clear. So latitude, longitude, and name are required here. In another piece of code with the same record, you can, if you need just the name and the type. So you can say you have reached the destination of Diamond Heights, name Diamond Heights, and it's that building. So you could look for a building in nearby where you have just got out of your cab. So you can elide the entire this part, and then you can just mention the name and the type. So you see the beauty of this now that it is increasing, it is focusing on the data components which are required for that, for the present piece of code, rather than making it so and highlighting them for the user, for the readability purpose as well. And maintainability, as in like you are not creating let's suppose this entire structure, the data structure like the building and geolocation, building type, and let's suppose address. So all this may, let's suppose it contains 10 to 15 components all together as a sum. So this 10 to 15, no, there's no need to create 10 to 15 type and name pairs. Rather than, if you know that you're going to use out of this 15 only three, so you can focus on them, write them, define them, and then use them in your code. Now let's come. This is the part where we are saying unnamed patterns. So these patterns are unnamed here. So now we are coming, let's jump to the unnamed variables part of this feature. So this is the one of the common feature where very many times what we do is we have a well-defined exception hierarchy for our application, but when it comes to printing out the error or defining a user message, we are not completely, we catch the exception. We now know that this catch block con- should contain a business logic or a logic to either handle this error, whatever the type of exception we have, or it should let the user know in somehow. So we are, many times we are using, let's suppose I have a string and I'm parsing it as an integer. It has non-integer characters, so obviously it will give number format exception. So but the user need not know that it's a number format exception. We are just trying to say invalid number. We want to give something as invalid number and give the string part of with whatever was not we were not able to parse. So here we are not using the exception. We are not printing the stack trace, or we are not passing like we are not bubbling it up to the system. We are just printing out or displaying the user the correct message. So here we don't need to give a e. In the in my most humble opinion, people will give e here and then not use it. So there's no need of doing this anymore. You can just make a underscore here. And so here many people, they have asked in my post and they commented on my posts that why this looks a bit of like a syntax sugar, and it does not, what is the real implication or the impact of this. So the real impact will be, if I am showing a small snippet of code, the impact looks very meager or does not really seem very fruitful. But let's suppose you have a existing code base. You have existing code base of let's suppose hundreds and hundreds of classes and business logic, and you slowly start using this feature, and you start adopting records, you start adopting this feature into your existing code base, and let's suppose this feature becomes final, it's a preview feature. So in that case, you will then see that you are, when you're reading or browsing through your code, you are understanding, but just by, you are able to understand that this underscore is leaving its meaning or impact at this point itself. It does not it does not, it's not impacting, or it does not float from here to any other, through the code lines below it. So it's basically compacting its scope here, and it is not being used. So you are not searching for any exception object usage down the line. So if let's suppose the catch block is of 70 lines, then you are sure that at this point, at line number 80, you are aware that this exception object is not used in this catch block. So it is not intended to use. That's why it has been given underscore. Earlier, if you give e here and not use it, so the what will happen is you may never know at this point that this e has been used, or it has been printed, or it dealt with, or something like it. It has been rethrown or something like that. So it gets compiled here as well, but now it gives a clear picture that this is never used and it was intended such that. Now coming to one interesting use case of this feature, that is the unnamed pattern variables, where when a switch executes the same action for multiple cases. So this is one very beautiful example which I have created. This is app payment record. I have shown you the thing before, that app payment is a payment have a single component called payment of type of a class which extends payment. So I'm creating a payment object. I am using UPI payment. Let's suppose the customer uses UPI payment. He has a choice of UPI, he has a choice of wallet, he has a choice of card payment. So he is using UPI payment here. So I'm creating a UPI payment object, and I'm creating a record payment. So when I'm using the business logic to use or to process this payment, so I have three cases here, because if you have seen, I'm using sealed class, so that makes my switch case more robust, because it knows that it has to deal with only, I don't have to create a default case here. So I know I have only three ways of uh, say it's a implementation of a extension of a abstract class. So I have only UPI class and a wallet class and a card class. So when I am using this in a switch case, this is the existing way. So I am processing UPI payment. I am deducting from the virtual payment address, and I am using only the payment object to utilize or deduct the amount or process this payment. I'm not using any other ways of printing it or letting the user know. The second case is wallet payment, where I'm deducting 100 rupees from the wallet, and third case is payment card payment, when I'm deducting 100 rupees from the Visa card. And I'm using the payment object itself, not the payment object itself for the business logic or making or processing that information. I'm not using this switch case different scenarios here. So in this case, what I can do is the new way I can do is I can just give UPI payment and then say underscore. So here the, the the developer and whoever is reading this code is now aware that I don't have anything to do with this UPI payment object. Obviously, I have the payment here. Why there's no need of creating another variable name here, and here. So that's why it will process fine. And obviously, since we are aware that it is of type wallet payment in this line, in line number 109, there is no need of further creating another variable here. Payment itself is able to process in down the line. So this is what we can do with this feature. So just recapping it once more for you. So this feature is broken into two parts. One is unnamed patterns and one is unnamed variables. So unnamed patterns where is used in this case, for example, where we have a simple record or a nested record, and in that record structure, in the record hierarchy or the record data structure, we are utilizing a part of it or part of it at different levels of the nested records. So in the case where we need only a building's name and its geolocations, latitude and longitude, we just need to define the name, or we need to disaggregate the name, the latitude of the geolocation and the longitude, and leaving the altitude and the building type all together by denoting it with underscore and using it. In case of a unnamed variable, so we are using the unnamed variable in a case where we need to have the variable. There's a placeholder. For example, if I don't give anything here, will the code compile? No, the code will not compile because it needs identifier. It needs an identifier. I need not, but I don't want to use the identifier any because I have a business logic or I have a way of representing my information to the user. So I'll just give underscore here, and it will make sure uh, to give the developer or person who is reading the code the correct impression that the scope of this identifier is just ends after the underscore, it not used anywhere down the line. In the case of a switch case where I have it is the same action are used in multiple cases. For example, for the payment processing, I just want to have a switch case between UPI payment, wallet payment, and card payment. What I can do is I can just remove this variables because I am not using this anymore. I'm using the payment object, that is the app payment object, to do my processing rather than I just want to branch it out separately in a way. So that's all for this feature. Meet you in my next video and will show you some cool features from Java 21. Thank you.